What if I told you there was a prison so terrifying that even America's most dangerous criminals feared it? A prison surrounded by freezing water, deadly currents, and darkness. A place where escape was considered impossible. And yet, one night in 1962, 3 prisoners vanished without a trace. No bodies were ever found. Did they drown? Or did they achieve the greatest prison escape in American history? This is the dark and mysterious story of Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, the prison that became a legend. In the middle of the cold waters of San Francisco Bay sits a lonely island covered in fog and silence. Today, tourists visit it with curiosity and cameras, but decades ago, this island was a nightmare. Alcatraz was not an ordinary prison, it was America's final destination for the most dangerous criminals, murderers, gangsters, and escape artists, men so violent that other prisons could no longer control them. The prison officially opened in 1934, during a time when crime was exploding across the United States. The government wanted one prison that could hold the worst criminals in the country, and Alcatraz was perfect. The island itself was like a natural fortress. The freezing water surrounding it acted like a giant wall. Even if a prisoner somehow escaped the cells and guards, the ocean would most likely kill them before they reached shore. Prisoners called the place the Rock. Once someone arrived there, hope slowly disappeared. Life inside Alcatraz was brutal. Prisoners lived in tiny concrete cells barely larger than a bathroom. Inside each cell was only a bed, a sink, and a toilet, nothing else. Every second of the day was controlled by strict prison rules. The guards demanded complete discipline, and silence filled the hallways. For many inmates, the psychological torture was worse than the physical punishment. Imagine hearing the sounds of freedom from across the water, cars moving through the city, music playing, people laughing, while you remained trapped forever on an isolated island. That feeling destroyed many prisoners mentally. Some of America's most infamous criminals were locked inside Alcatraz. One of the most feared was Al Capone, the powerful Chicago mafia boss. Before arriving at Alcatraz, Capone controlled gangs, money, and violence across America. But inside Alcatraz, he lost everything. The prison stripped away his power completely. Guards treated him like an ordinary prisoner. Another famous inmate was Robert Stroud, known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. Despite the nickname, he was not allowed to keep birds there at all. He spent years in isolation because the prison considered him extremely dangerous. The prison had one main goal: break criminals psychologically before they could break the prison. Officially, Alcatraz claimed escape was impossible. Over the years, many prisoners tried to escape. Some were caught immediately, others were shot by guards. A few disappeared into the freezing water and were never seen again. But then came the escape attempt that shocked America forever. It began with 3 prisoners, Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin. Unlike many inmates, these men were intelligent, patient, and highly determined. For months, they secretly planned their escape. Using stolen spoons and homemade tools, they slowly dug holes through the walls behind their cells. Every night, they chipped away tiny pieces of concrete. During music hour, the sound helped hide the noise they made. Behind the walls was an unused service corridor, and that became their secret pathway. But escaping the prison cells was only the beginning. The prisoners still had to survive the deadly waters surrounding Alcatraz. The ocean currents were powerful, and the water was freezing cold. Most people believed nobody could survive long enough to reach shore. Still, the men continued planning, because even death was better than spending the rest of their lives trapped on the rock. Finally, the night of June 11, 1962 arrived. Guards walked through the prison as usual and everything appeared normal. The prisoners seemed asleep in their beds, but those bodies were fake. The escapees had created dummy heads using soap, toilet paper, paint, and real human hair collected from the prison barbershop. In the darkness, the guards believed the prisoners were sleeping peacefully, while the real men crawled through the hidden corridor behind the walls. The prisoners climbed through ventilation shafts, reached the prison roof, and quietly disappeared into the cold night air. Before escaping, they carried a homemade raft created from stolen raincoats glued together by hand. Imagine the fear they must have felt at that moment. Dark skies above them, freezing ocean below them, and one mistake meaning certain death. But turning back was impossible. They pushed the raft into the water and vanished into the darkness. The next morning, Alcatraz exploded into chaos. Guards discovered the fake heads lying in the beds and realized the prisoners were gone. Sirens echoed across the island. The FBI immediately launched one of the largest manhunts in American history. Helicopters searched from the sky, while boats scanned the freezing water below. But the prisoners had disappeared completely. Days later, pieces of the homemade raft were found floating in the bay. A life jacket was also discovered. The government quickly announced that the escapees probably drowned in the freezing ocean. Officially, the case was considered solved, but many people refused to believe that explanation because no bodies were ever found, not a single one. Over the years, strange clues began appearing. Family members claimed they received secret postcards and mysterious phone calls. Some people even believed they spotted the escapees alive many years later. One alleged photograph showed two of the Anglin brothers living in South America decades after the escape. To this day, nobody knows the truth. Did the prisoners drown in the deadly waters surrounding Alcatraz, or did they escape and disappear forever? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes the greatest mysteries are the ones that are never solved.